Aaron Banks was one of the most dominant players coming out of college in 2021. And the Niners saw exactly that when they took the All-American guard with pick 48 in the 2021 NFL Draft. Banks, unfortunately, hasn't lived up to being selected that high. So what I want to do in this video is get into some of the issues with Banks. At the same time, I want to show you why I think Aaron Banks, who is technically supposed to start at left guard this year, may become a really solid football player. So one of the first issues that I think happened with Banks in his first season is the fact that at Notre Dame, he played left guard in pretty much all 3 of his seasons. 99% of his snaps came at left guard. The Niners moved him to right guard, and I think that really hindered him. Now, of course, this year he will go back to left guard, so I think right off the bat that's going to help him. Now, to start this video, what I want to do is get into the 3 reps that Banks took during the regular season. Now, in these 3 reps, one play was actually a really nice block, and it's going to be the first down run that you're going to see right here. Banks does a great job double teaming and getting to the inside of this defensive tackle. Ultimately, he seals the guy off. Now, the guy does end up putting his leg out, which the running back trips on and falls. But Aaron Banks does a really nice job gaining leverage and getting to the inside. Now, this is an inside zone. So what that means is the right guard and right tackle have the responsibility of the 3 tech as well as the stack linebacker. So if the stack linebacker jumps to the right of that defensive tackle, it is the responsibility of the right tackle. If that linebacker jumps to the left of that defensive tackle, he would be the responsibility of Banks. As you're going to see, he's going to take the right side of that defensive tackle. Aaron Banks and the tackle process it correctly, and Aaron Banks stays on the defensive tackle. Again, he ultimately seals off the defensive tackle. Unfortunately, the defensive tackle does trip the running back. Should have been a penalty. I didn't see a flag get thrown. But either way, we're only looking at the reps, so it's a pretty nice rep. Jumping forward into the second play that Banks took, Banks is going to get thrown by this defensive tackle, and the defensive tackle ultimately ends up helping to make the stop on the running. Now, on this second play that he had against the Jags, he's just way too high out of his stance. At the same time, he allows the defensive tackle to land his punch to the inside chest plates of Banks. Once the defensive tackle has his hands to the inside, he now controls where Banks can and cannot go. Because the defensive tackle has leverage, he's ultimately able to throw and shed Banks and help make the play on the running back. Now, one of the things I noticed while watching the Kansas City Chiefs game earlier is Banks had these same exact issues. In this first play, as he's trying to block number 99 is going to have the leverage and is able to land his hands to the inside of Banks. Now, this is an inside zone play, so ultimately the running back can cut it back to the inside, but this is a terrible job in terms of leverage. And on this next play against the Kansas City Chiefs defensive tackle, Banks gets out of his stance, and although it's not terrible leverage, the defensive lineman is still lower. And ultimately, because he's lower, he's able to dip just a little bit to his right, and he's able to basically reset the line of scrimmage. Ultimately, these 3 plays that he loses in are pretty similar because he's really not moving his feet. He's not really exploding low out of his stance. He's not playing with good technique. Just to wrap up the Jags game, this is the 3rd and final meaningful snap. Banks is basically going to let the defensive tackle go upfield. This is a design quarterback run. Lance picks up the first down. And Banks does technically play a 4th and 5th snap in this game, but those are just quarterback kneels, so they're not really that important. Now, I do think Banks has a lot going for himself. Now, I want to show you guys a couple of plays from that Kansas City Chiefs game where Banks actually does a really nice job, and they're good foundational pieces for him to continue to build on. Now, as this play begins, you're going to get Nick Bolton, the standout linebacker, come on a blitz through the B gap. Banks does a great job picking it up and really punching Bolton and creating that separation between him and Bolton. Now, that's not the impressive part. What impresses me is towards the end of this play, Bolton is trying to basically bull rush Banks. What Banks does is he's going to snatch the arm of Bolton, which is an advanced technique that probably 80% of offensive linemen do not know how to do. And he effectively does it as a rookie in his first ever game, and Bolton hits the dirt. Being able to snatch properly is a technique that offensive line coaches teach around the league, but not every player can do it. This is a really nice foundation piece to kind of build on. As Banks gets more experience, as he gets better, as his process speeds up, if he's able to continue doing things like snatching and forking and these advanced moves with his arms, it's only going to help him in his game as he really gets into it. Now, jumping forward into this next rep, it starts off good, but then Banks kind of doesn't stick to his block and his guy ends up making the play. Now, what I like about this play is it kind of shows you the mindset, the processing speed that Banks has. Now, as Banks fires out of his stance, he gets that left hand up. That is basically to see if he needs to help the center if that defensive tackle takes a hard angle to the right. Now, Banks does not have to help and the center has it locked down. And then Banks takes a nice angle to the linebacker, and he should be able to shut the linebacker down, but he's just not able to control his body. His footwork's all over the place, and ultimately he doesn't stop himself quick enough to shut that linebacker down. Now, From a mindset perspective, I like the fact that he doesn't double down on the center because that would have slowed him down just a little bit too much. He puts himself in a good spot, but he's not able to make the block. Now, I wanted to show you guys his play because it does show you guys his processing speed, and there's a couple other plays that kind of back up his processing speed. Take both of these next two plays as examples. On this first play, you're going to have the defensive front show a blitz, and you really don't know what's happening, but you're going to have a defensive tackle lined up on Banks who's going to cross his face, and Banks is going to pass that defensive tackle off to the center, and he's going to pick up a blitzing slot cornerback. His processing speed in his brain is very quick. He's able to see some of the little small things that are happening within the game, within a play, and he's able to pick it up. Now, this play is nice, and then you can see the second play as well. He basically does the same thing. He's going to punch this defensive lineman and pass it off to the tackle, and he basically picks up the guy the tackle is responsible for. Now, when I watch Banks and I see some of his technique flaws, but at the same time I see him process a defensive line game, pick it up perfectly, it gives me a lot of hope, especially since this season he's going to play with the league's best left tackle in Trent Williams right next to him. That's only going to make it that much easier for Banks. I know he's already gotten stronger this offseason as reports are kind of out there, and I truly expect Banks to take the next step in his game and really be a good guard for the Niners. I look forward to watching his tape when preseason comes around as well as the regular season. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to follow, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.